Sanford and Son is the greatest show that I've ever watched. It is Nathaniel Taylor, his own words, like a couple years before he passed away. He said Sanford and Son was timeless, which it is. 50 plus years later, still going, still fits right in. It's transcends race, right? It's like I don't watch that and go, oh, well, that's the. I can walk in. I feel like whether their character, unless, Red might be, hey, get out of here, honky. He might not want me there. But everything they do, I feel like I'm just there with their friends that I can fit right in. What is Sanford and Son? What does it mean to me? Because I can't speak for the black community. I can't speak what it means to be black. I don't know any of that stuff. And I get comments sometimes. People saying, hey, they'll say it on Facebook page. I got 10,000 followers there. I've had people say, hey, who are you? Who are you? You don't know nothing about these black people. Or you can't comment about this. You don't have a right. And so I don't take it personal. But I can say this, that when I was with my mom, we were very poor. So when I see Sanford and Son, I don't look at it and go, hey, you're poor. Because I've had the black community say they didn't like Sanford and Son. It was a disgrace to blacks. It was white people putting blacks down. You're poor. You're unsuccessful. You're uneducated. And from my perspective, right, I watch it and I go, he owns his own business. For over 30 years, I've never owned a business. To this day, I've never owned a business. I've never been able to be that successful. And let alone Fred Sanford, 30 years. He owns his own home. I don't own my home, I rent. I've never owned a home. I've never owned property my entire life. He owns his own home. He's a very good father. People want to say, like, I've seen comments, people are like, oh, nobody, they put him on there like they calls his son dumb and he's just that. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you should have heard what my actual white father used to do. He was an alcoholic. He was very abusive. I rarely see him. He's apologized later in life, but he took me away from my mom and my black stepdad because my black stepdad used to beat me with a belt. And you know what? I was a troubled kid, and that taught me real well that I either two things: stop doing it or find out how to do it without getting caught, right? But that was how he was raised. He's like, man, I got the belt, and you pull that. If you've ever seen that, when you put the belt together and you go, whoosh, he would do that. And when I heard that, the tears came, because when my mom spanked me before they got together, I would just laugh. It would laugh. It was no big deal. But so my white dad, who had nothing to do with me, heard that and he said, oh, no black guy's gonna beat me, hit my son. So he took me from my mom when I was 6, and I went anyways with him. He was rich. Worst time of my life. Worst time of my life. 5.5 years with him. Finally came back to my mom. My black stepdad is greater than anything that a white father was. And he taught me more. He was more loving. We had a better relationship than I did with my real father. So I don't look at it when it goes color. I look at it culture. I look at it as a human being. And when I see Fred, it's all success. He's better than my real dad ever was. He's more successful than I've ever been. He owned things, and he had his son who was by his side, remember in the episode where he's with the whole group, the group therapy, and Lamont's like, hey, my dad, he's trying to come up with ideas, and he couldn't come up with ideas, but he still had his dad back. Why? Because his dad in the end was a great father. So when I hear people of black community, I can only say, hey, that's your opinion. You lived it. I'm not from that world, but I can tell you I've had a part of that world with my stepdad. I've seen it. I've seen racism when he was the umpire at baseball games and at basketball, and the N-word yell. This is in the 80s. This is in the early 90s. He's right now a truck driver, and I don't see him very much anymore. But when I was with my dad for 5 years, I would come back, get visits. He became a born-again Christian. My mom became a born-again Christian. When I moved back with my mom at like 11, I became a born-again Christian. So, he had changed and everything. So that's why I said, going forward, great relationship. But even when I was younger, great relationship. He was like... Anyways, my stepdad, yeah, he worked for the cable company, good guy. He would buy me Star Wars toys, and kind of act like they were for someone else. Like he would pull cool pranks. My dad wouldn't buy me a single toy. So that's why I'm like, you know what, man? Taught me a lot growing up. But the point was, growing up, I see that. So I know that exists. And he would, he's talked to me about it. And so when I see that, I go, I can't speak from that, only what I do know. But at no time have I, as a white man, ever watched Sanford and Son and thought this show is, this puts black people down. This puts, if anything, it makes me go, I want to be there. Why do you think I don't? And All in the Family is a good show. Good show, funny, groundbreaking. But I would rather be, All in the Family's living room reminds me of my grandparents' house. Kind of old and boring. Not something I'd want to go sit and hang out in. Man, I will sit in the junk shop with Fred and Grady and Bubba, and I will laugh all day with them because I relate to them. I relate to their personality. I relate to the humor. And at no time did I ever put like anything bad. That's why I'm like, when I hear that, I just go, huh, something happened to that person in their life that made them think that this is bad or demeaning towards their culture. While people like me, I can only speak from my life experiences. Sanford and Son is the greatest show, and it's the most relatable show to me on a personal level. So